Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're decoding a deeply fascinating, highly esoteric text that breaks down the exact mechanics of mental manipulation and, more importantly, your ultimate spiritual liberation. We're looking at a source that frames our reality as this incredibly complex system of psychological control, but then hands us the literal blueprint for escaping it.
So, I want you to start by asking yourself this. What if the forces persecuting you right now are completely fake? The source makes a pretty wild claim here. It says that we're targeted by an inherent, multiple armies operating with a very hidden, specific intention, and that intention is to destroy the human body. To figure out how to defeat this persecution, we've got to understand exactly how it's built from the ground up.
Section 1. The illusion of persecution. Let's look at how this hostile environment is actually constructed.
Right, so the text maps out these specific levels of control. The core idea, the reality we manifest, is strictly bound by what we believe. It's that simple. By using neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, and strictly controlling the information you receive, these forces can literally dictate your emotions and actions. And the text introduces this really chilling concept called the NLP of death. Basically, it's a form of psychological conditioning that artificially limits your potential. It implants this deep-seated belief that you're going to fail, or, as the source gives as a really specific example, that you shall die before ever getting that Oscar. It's an entire system built just to keep you completely unaware of how much you can actually control.
And we're not just talking about subtle nudges here. The text asserts these are aggressive, manipulative tactics. It actually describes psychologists using the brain of a gangster, literally leveraging that kind of gangster mentality to generate raw fear and fundamentally change your behavior. It's a mechanism of pure intimidation, designed to keep you terrified and compliant.
Which brings us to the rules of the transaction game.
The source argues that all of this hostility, it's a highly calculated system. Every single interaction you have is a transaction, and it changes the state of the game depending entirely on how you react. If you meet force with force, you're stuck. You remain trapped in their cycle. But if you execute what the text calls game blocking, meaning you respond to that force with love, you force the game to change state entirely. You completely flip the transactional dynamic.
And here is the massive realization, the ultimate validation of fact. The source describes a scenario where an authority figure, specifically a police double-cross that happened because of a higher reward, made a massive mistake. This slip-up accidentally disclosed the true mind of the authority, proving that the entire structure of persecution is fake. No, really, it's fake. It literally only has power if you decide to believe in it.
So, breaking the manipulation cycle. How do we actually do that?
Once you get that the game is just rigged to generate fear, the source tells us exactly how to divert destiny and escape. First, you process what they want rather than reacting defensively based on what you want. Second, just stop playing. I know it sounds too simple, but games stop when you stop. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, you have to cut off their mental supply chain. You must actively choose not to think about or reflect on somebody who has persecuted you.
Because as we'll see in this next part, consciousness is pure energy.
This leads us right into the esoteric mechanics of why stopping that reflection is a matter of survival. The text defines consciousness literally as energetic currency, meaning wherever your thoughts go, your raw energy follows. If you sit around thinking about someone who hurt you, the energy flows directly to that someone. You are voluntarily funding your persecutor with your own life force. Crazy, right?
The text explains that this fake persecution has deliberately created enemies between all sects and cultures of religion that hold power. And the more these forces observe you reacting to their hatred, the more they change their reality because of it. But, and here's the catch, if they hate, you have a choice. You can choose to transform that exact hatred into love. The source calls this the greatest test, and ultimately the greatest victory on planet Earth.
Let's look at the Golden Rule response. This all builds into an overarching spiritual philosophy that acts as your absolute, impenetrable shield, the Golden Rule. The source specifically points to Matthew 7:12 here. It's about treating everyone with unconditional kindness, respect, and dignity, completely regardless of how they treat you. When you deploy this, you short-circuit that NLP of death. You bypass those gangster-minded fear tactics. You are stepping entirely outside their rulebook.
Because look, a human mind naturally invests time and emotions to transact, right? The text urges us to take this finite interval of time we have on Earth and invest it exclusively in humanity, invest it in happiness, in treating others with a smile. By taking the energy of that persecution and redirecting it into love, you achieve the highest reward. And in doing so, the Trinity becomes the witness of all your transactions, stepping in to safely guide and rescue the soul as per the faith in our prayers.
Ultimately, the text drops this profound truth: who manipulated whom is just not important anymore. When you're given an opportunity to transact with a person who has persecuted you, it isn't a trap, it's an opportunity. It's a blank canvas for you to turn those transactions around and write an entirely new script with your own loving response.
And that brings us to the final phase, becoming the watchful observer.
This is the cosmic reward of making that massive shift in consciousness. The text beautifully promises that when you are truly feeling love, the whole world literally dances around your consciousness. And that heavy, fear-based reality, it simply disappears after a finite interval of time. Achieving this profound state of emotional detachment and radical love doesn't just protect you. It gives you the exact opportunity you need to amplify your deep understanding of the universe itself.
You transcend. You go from being a victim in a fake, rigged game to participating as a watchful observer. The source says you get to participate knowing everything, enjoying what you observe, and intimately sensing and receiving right in your heart the very emotions that are vibrating across the cosmos.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Now that you know the rules of the illusion, now that you see the NLP designed to limit you, and you understand the sheer, raw, energetic power of your own consciousness, will you keep playing their game, or will you choose to become the joyful observer of the cosmos? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep observing.